Hello, welcome to another SIW where I talk about stuff I've watched in a bit. Movie edition. I had to did a bit because I've been watching more dramas than movies, but I do have a nice selection for you. There's not really any theme this time, but a good mix of good, bad, weird, everything you can ask for if you're looking for a specific one. Yeah, so let's get started. The first movie we'll be discussing is 2009's Teke Teke. It is a horror movie based on the urban myth or urban legend or whatever you call it. It's Japanese. Basically about a spirit of a woman who committed suicide by jumping onto train tracks, and her body got split in two. And it's about the upper part of her body at least, roams around and kills people looking for her lower body. It's not a very good movie. It's super low budget. The acting's actually fine. They play pretty convincing high school kids. But the monster didn't look scary. It was kind of creepy at the beginning once there's not a lot of like, you can't really see it, but it just gets kind of ridiculous. It is kind of interesting how they did it, because once you hear the premise, you think it's like a corpse torso like crawling after you, but instead of crawling, it like stiffens up its arms and it kind of like bounces on the two of them like super fast. So that's an interesting take. I wasn't expecting that, but to be honest, it looks ridiculous. A lot of it's just like really sped up footage. Some of it's not very great editing. And once you actually get a good look at the monster, the makeup doesn't look great. And I guess I'm holding it to a little higher standard because Japan makes really good spooky women ghosts / monsters, so yeah. But what's interesting about this, it's directed by Koji Shiraishi, I think is how you would pronounce it. And he's a director that I didn't know of, because I'm still learning about directors, but I've watched a lot of his movies. It was very surprising so I don't know. I'm definitely not calling him a bad director because of this. He's definitely a roller coaster director, because he directed Norio, probably one of the most well-known Japanese. I don't know how well known it is. Maybe it's not, but I feel like people really like Norio. It's a found footage / documentary horror movie. It's very popular, very well done too. I actually watched it a couple months ago. It was a fine experience, so I'm pretty sure it's like definitely weird. So like, he has something super critically acclaimed. He also has he did Carved, the Slit-Mouthed Woman, which I think I referenced a while ago, which is like a cult classic slasher movie. He did a Cult, which isn't really known too much. It's another documentary / found footage, and I guess people don't really know it as much, or it doesn't get as much well reception, because he did Norio, which is like one of the pinnacles. Honestly, Norio is probably like up there along with Wreck for me, for my two favorite found footage movies, so I really do like it. And I really like The Cult too. I thought it was a really great movie, but I don't really hear people referencing it. So we talked about Dark Tales of Japan, that kind of janky Janky Anthology, he did that too. I wonder if it says which one he did. I'd be very much interested in trying to guess what would he do. Something super janky. Maybe he did the spider thing. That's like the worst one, but I feel like he might have done it. Let me see. Spider Woman. Okay, he didn't. That was. Oh, he did the sacrifice. The sacrifice was was pretty interesting. One of the better ones. Probably like my third favorite out of the 5. Yeah, and he like the list goes on. He did what is this called? Shirome, which I watched as a high school student, and it got me into J-pop a bit, or not J-pop, idols. Because I wasn't. I mean, I'll be honest. I'm not into idols that much anymore. The only idol group I liked was Momo Rio Clover. And, you know, time to time I will be like, oh, there's a new one out, and I'll watch it. But I really got into it because of this, which is, it's like a documentary again with them. It's such a, they made a horror movie, which was kind of hilarious, to explain why one of their members was leaving or retiring from the group, which is actually hilarious to me. So I thought that was super charming, and that's why I really enjoyed that movie. So he made a lot of movies. This is probably my least favorite from him, to be honest. But I don't know. He's very prolific. Maybe, I don't know. For some reason, without actually knowing, I've been watching a lot of his film categories. So yeah, Teke Teke, not a great movie. The films I just mentioned are probably worth a watch. Probably definitely Norio, or A Cult if you've already seen Norio. Those are probably my favorite 2 out of all of them. But yeah, bad movie. I just wanted to. I really wanted to talk about it just because when I found out the director, it was a pleasant surprise. But yeah, would I recommend Teke Teke? Not really. It's like a 5 out of 10. I don't know. No, it's probably like a 4 out of 10. I'm being kind of generous though. I think I gave him like a bonus point just because he is a director I like. Also, apparently there's a Teke Teke 2 directed by him that came out in the same year, so I don't know how that happened. But yeah, the Teke Teke franchise, don't think I'll be continuing it. Unlucky. Next, I'll be talking about 1999's Attack the Gas Station. I really enjoyed this movie. The premise is these 4 sort of delinquents, more closer to adults, rob a gas station, and then they rob the gas station like again, and then they decided to just take it over for a bit and get money by giving gas, and it just kind of escalates from that. It's definitely a crazy movie where it just continues to escalate, and that's where a lot of the action / comedy, mainly the comedy, comes from, in my opinion. It's just like so ridiculous, like how more insane can this get? Though not to, it's obviously was trying to be comedic, but I really like that element of it. I mean, if you want to look deeper in the movie, it's obviously a criticism of social statuses in Korea, and specifically school stuff, the pressure in school by the teachers and parents. But honestly, I don't think this is a movie where you need to analyze stuff. It was just very fun. Pretty distinct cast members. While I didn't actually like they all had their they were all delinquents, but they all had their quirky, crazy personalities. And yeah, it's hard to explain without spoiling, but if I describe it, it would just sound ridiculous. But yeah, from a simple robbery / hostage situation to many different parties getting involved, and it's pretty crazy. that being said, you could there is some like bad slow-mo and stuff, which is just, part of the age where they didn't know how to do slow-mo. Like a really bad baseball throwing scene that looked horrible, but it was interesting. It's definitely not like a super super plot driven movie. I mainly just enjoyed it because of how crazy it is. But again, there is sort of a message, and I guess sending a message while making it super fun to watch is a pretty neat idea. I enjoy that, though it's not like something profound, obviously, but you don't always need to do that. Like, this is definitely something you can like, no, maybe watch like with friends, but like even then it might be like too crazy that it might be a little, once it gets like super insane with the plot, because someone from one of the comments, like some people said it's too much for it to be like considered a movie. It's just too random, but I think it was very, very interesting. Some good action, fun scenes, pretty tense at moments. It's not like you're really cheering for the guys, but I can sort of understand like the pressure from teachers and parents to perform well and to reform yourself to societal values and stuff like that. But yeah, it's definitely it definitely has a lot of energy, I would say. It's a fun movie, and I like high energy stuff like that. Like I've stated before in other stuff, I enjoy depressing stuff. I mean, I definitely respect it, and it's definitely useful because I cry a lot, so I think I enjoy that. But honestly, just having a super fun movie is cool, with crazy antics and stuff. Yeah, not too much to say about it though. I just would say if it sounds slightly interesting, you might as well watch it, because it is an incredibly hard movie to describe. But yeah, I'd give it like a nice 7 out of 10. Next movie I have Face, or Cow, I don't know how to pronounce it, which is just face in Japanese, from 2000. This is a very interesting movie. I didn't know how to feel about it. I think after I finished watching it, I was like, I was very lukewarm about it, but the more I think about it, the more I like it. But even then, this is definitely, I feel like, would be a decisive movie. Or I don't know, maybe it's just me. Basically, the premise is the main character is either mentally ill or just very socially awkward. Her family basically dies, and then, well, I'll just say it, she killed someone, and it's the whole movie's basically just her on the run, and it's just very it feels very chaotic, because one, I didn't really like her as a character. Like, I understand, especially from the environment of a very bitchy sister who seems pretty mean, but it's just a very weird story, from her going around places, interacting with different people, and that ending because she's on the run from the police. It's a very interesting tale, and I think it's weird in a good way. It's pretty edgy. It deals with some very graphic stuff that seems pretty horrible. It's hard. It's her development as a character, as a socially awkward character that doesn't really interact with anyone. It was very interesting to see her go through all this stuff and actually start interacting with people. And by the second half, you kind of see her change as a person a bit, even if it was just temporary. And I think I did enjoy the second half a lot more when she settled down and we got some more stable characters that we would actually spend time with more, and she developed as a character and learned how to be well, I don't want to say normal, but like she just like actually being able to interact with people, and made me start to kind of like her. It's like, oh yeah, you're going through some tough stuff, but yeah, you're still a murderer, right? So it's hard. It's, again, I feel like I'm super jumbled with this one, though for different reasons than Attack the Gas Station. Well, that one's super chaotic. I'm just having a hard time thinking about this movie, because it's, again, a very different movie. Kind of depressing, kind of not enjoyable to watch this woman who's suffering just go around being poor, going through a lot of stuff, and it just makes me feel very sad. But it's not a sad movie. It's such a weird tonal stuff. It's definitely something it's almost artsy in a sense, but it's not really. I don't know. I do think it dragged a little bit because it was 2 hours long, which is kind of insane. It felt very long because, again, it made me feel uncomfortable is the good word for it. Uncomfortable's like, I think it's a pretty neat emotion to make you feel through stories. I think it works very well in horror. Instead of just going scary, make you feel uncomfortable and uneasy. But for this movie, which is what genre would this be? I guess a crime drama sounds kind of good. It was just weird. Just a weird protagonist, a weird story where you feel bad for her, you sort of understand her, but you can't because she's just a weird character. Eventually you start cheering for her, and then it just goes on, and it gives the feeling where once you do start being like, oh, she's finding herself a real life, you then get reminded that, oh, she's murdered someone and the police are chasing after her. She's not actually gonna escape the police. But yeah, it had its funny moments. It had some pretty disturbing moments. I mean, it didn't hurt me that much, but I feel like people would say it's pretty disturbing, like some sexual assault stuff, and it's weird. It goes from like sexual assault to her learning how to swim and super comedic stuff like that. So I don't know. I feel like it's weirdly charming for me, and I liked it more over time, while my initial reaction was pretty lukewarm. I'm also gonna give this a 7 to Attack, same as Attack the Gas Station. I'm strangely entranced by it. I feel like I wouldn't hate watching it one more time in the future and see if my opinion changes. But yeah, very interesting movie. I don't know how I would recommend it if you're willing to venture out a bit. For the final movie, I will be discussing 2002's The Choice of Hercules. If you do remember, or if you've watched a past SIW maybe a week or two ago, I talked about the United Red Army, which went over the communist uprising in Japan, sort of protests, and eventually the forming of militant left-leaning groups, which is the United Red Army. and it was split into different parts. This movie basically covers the last part of the movie where the remnants of the army breaks into an inn and takes a woman hostage. And this just focuses that, but on the police side of things. Starring Koji Yakusho, who is pretty good. I talked about him in Rico and The Blood of Wolves. He's definitely like I like him as an actor. I know my dad's like he's my dad's favorite actor. I'm not that hot on him yet, but he's pretty good. So this gives a very different experience, because while I was pretty meh with the United Red Army, I really enjoyed the last scene. It was like one of the most intense like hostage scenes I've ever seen. More intense than this one, but this one gave definitely a different feel. Instead of like those people who were obviously in the wrong, but they were like just horrible stuff happening in the United Red Army, like them being blasted. It showed like stats at the end, like they used 50 tons of water, constantly being like gas bombed and flares, and having their parents like call out to them and stuff. Like super like very good tactics, I guess, to really break someone down. This one was a different experience. It showed they did do a lot of similar tactics, though it definitely wasn't as smooth. A lot like this was a pretty long movie too. I think it was like around 2 hours and 30 minutes, I think, or maybe like 2 hours and 20. A lot of politics and stuff by the Tokyo police, which are the more elite police, versus the rural police where the thing was happening. A lot of the press stuff. It's almost strangely comedic when the siege is happening, just how much mistakes people make because of bad communication and stuff. It was just a disaster that like really got criticized, I believe, by the Japanese public and people overseas. Apparently, I'm not too sure. That being said, once they actually break into the house after all the sieging is done, it is intense in its own right. I think it's more intense than United Red Army, while United Red Army was more intense pre the break-in, because it was like super clean in that movie. Like the 6 officers got in, they pretty much cornered the guys and arrested them. In this movie, it took like hours and hours of the villains, I guess, the criminals resisting, and the teams going in just getting water bombed and suffocated by smoke. It was absolutely insane. Like one of their plans was to use a crane to like rip off the roof and then like attack from up there using the water guns and stuff too, but then like the whole stabilization of the building was coming apart, and then the crane gets stopped because of all the water getting into the machines. Just like a lot of weird mistakes, a lot of weird not weird, but like just incompetent police work. The main guy was really trying to keep it together, but it was a struggle, and it was very intense. People actually died, like from the United Red Army. When they were talking, they said like 2 Japanese died, I know, and an observer. But in this movie, way more people died from like dumb stuff, like ricocheting bullets. Like it's insane in the way just how sloppy it was, like how the shield, like the bullets were just going through their shields. How I don't know, it was insane. But I think I definitely had an elevated enjoyment of the movie because I watched United Red Army, because this is like the other side, the police side, where those people were completely painted as villains and stuff. So it was definitely a fun experience with that. But again, it was long. It might have felt a little draggy. Maybe you wouldn't enjoy it without knowing the actual backstory of the characters first, so maybe it's a good choice to watch this after you watch United Red Army, or at least read up on it a bit. Sorry. But there's a lot of there's again comedy from the failures. It was like super cold there, so there's some funny interactions with the characters. Not a lot of the characters stood out though, except for the main guy. Like, I was confusing names and stuff. But yeah, it was a decent hostage movie. I think it's definitely a little slow paced. Could have probably used some trimming of the fat. But once it gets going, I actually think it was very, very entertaining. A lot of me going, what the beep, at some of the choices, some of the casualties, just a lot of face palming, almost kind of stressful. I was feeling stressful for the team, though I do think it was shot well, and yeah, dragged a little. I don't actually think it was that bad, but I'm a very patient person. If you don't know, like, I almost never stop watching a series or movie once it starts, and so I have the patience. It might be a worse experience for you, for people who don't have that patience though, but I very much enjoyed it for what it was. I'm giving it like a 6 out of 10. Stressful, fun experience, just insane. I feel like I've been saying insane a lot this SIW, but it's just, when they break in, it's just almost hilariously bad. Like, again, people, like, they're trying to stop these people, but they're just getting freaking water gun from the outside, so they're also just freezing, and people are throwing smoke stuff, and they're still using the crane to tear down the house while people are inside. It's just, it's almost too much, but it is satisfying. And then the ending was fine. Yeah, again, I think it very meshes well with watching United Red Army. So if you actually are down to watch that one, because I think that's a hard movie to watch, personally for me, because I very much didn't like the first 2 parts of it, and it's like a 3-hour movie. But this is good. Maybe it's better. Maybe it's good without the other one. I'm not too sure, but it's definitely, I definitely enjoyed it, and enjoyed it more than Teke Teke. So yeah. To conclude, top movie, it's weird. I don't know if Face or Attack the Gas Station was better. I feel like I might appreciate Face more, and it was a bit more. It was going for something a bit more, but Attack the Gas Station was just really fun. Teke Teke's a meme. I don't know. Maybe one day I'll watch Teke Teke too. See if it's better. And the choice of Hercules it's not bad. It's alright. It's good enough. But yeah, thank you for watching as always. Every Sunday's an SIW, because I've been watching so much stuff, and there's like always content available to talk about, but it's fun. It's always fun talking about stuff. But yeah, next week should be another movie week. I like to do like 2 movie weeks, then a J-drama week, even though J-drama does tend to do a bit more in views, but it's alright. Yeah, next time we'll talk about more movies. Maybe I'll actually watch something not Asian. Sometimes that happens. Usually it's horror movies, but I've again not been watching a lot of horror movies. Though I just said I watched Teke Teke, but I haven't been like intentionally watching horror movies. But yeah. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you have a good rest of your day / night. And hopefully you watch something good too. It's always, I don't know where I'm going. I always do this where I keep going off and talking about random stuff. Yeah, but thank you. Subscribe if you haven't. We talk about S movies every week at least. Maybe sometimes more. Yeah, bye.